Welcome to the Oasis.state podcast. Cheers for tuning in. This podcast is dedicated to educating and empowering women to step into their self-love infused power. As a woman, there are so many nuances that influence our relationship with self. Join me as I share my personal experiences with and deep understanding of mindset development, energetics, and self-mastery. I will help you deconstruct societal conditioning and your own outdated beliefs through a lighthearted, playful lens of perception. I will introduce you to tools that will help you redefine your interaction with life, powerfully manifest your wildest dreams, and enjoy every step along the way. Let this podcast guide and support you as you make the commitment to remember your magic within. This is your self-empowerment pep talk. Hello, gorgeous soul, and welcome back to another episode of the Oasis.state podcast. I'm Zoe Carey, your host. So I have pressed record on this, the process of trying to record this podcast episode 4 times now. And I I'm kind of really in a big process of imposter syndrome with this. And I've been recording this podcast on and off for like maybe 2 years now, and the anxiety is already always there. But I've been through some things on a personal level in the last few months that have really made specifically recording a podcast quite triggering for me. But I would not be who I claim to be without embodying the advice that I throw out there all the time. So we're here. I've pressed record, and the reason I had to press stop on the other 3 attempts was because I was just rambling because I'm nervous. So once I get into my flow, I don't edit these podcasts, so it's just like press record, start flowing. But understandably so, because I'm moving through some, throat chakra stuff, imposter syndrome, really giving a shit what other people think kind of mentality. It's hard for me to get into that flow, but I want to sit here and push through that discomfort, even though I've got tightness in my chest and in my throat and everything. Like I said, who would I be if I don't practice what I preach? So we're here. I'm nervous, but let's keep going, eh? I'm also recording this podcast in the afternoon, which is very unusual for me. I usually try and use the fresh energy of the morning to press record, but I'm also finding myself very time poor when it comes to recording or not prioritizing it out of fear. So actually I feel like that's a lesson in itself. Like, I'm not actually time poor. There's more than enough hours in the day, but I am very, very highly nervous when I get on here and record these episodes. So I'm always like, I don't have time, blah, blah, blah. So I am here recording in the afternoon. This episode may be a shorter one because of the nerves and because it is the afternoon, but I'm here and I'm hoping that I can offer you some guidance on your journey. So it's so funny because I'm actually coming on here to talk about imposter syndrome through a different lens of perception, and then it's taken me 4 times to start recording this episode, and I'm like, oh my god, it's imposter syndrome. So there's layers to this for sure. I've been having this conversation around imposter syndrome with my trusted circle over the last few days, not just from my own experience, others sharing theirs. And I was just reflecting on it from the drive home from work today, and I was like, oh, actually, I feel like my greater community could really benefit from what my friends and I sort of deciphered from our conversations. So what a funny little paradox that I come on to talk about imposter syndrome and then I'm literally experiencing it. But hey, so the original reason why I wanted to come on here and talk about imposter syndrome is because I don't think it's all that it's cracked up to be, if that makes sense. I think when we have imposter syndrome, we instantly go into, a self-loathing cycle or a harshly judging yourself kind of mentality. And that totally has its place with imposter syndrome. And that's a really beautiful invitation to go within and make any adjustments that you need to your self-worth journey. And I suppose like it makes sense that I've got imposter syndrome right now because that voice goes on in your head, like, who am I to sit here and offer anyone advice? Like, you suck, blah, blah, blah. And I know I don't suck. I'm just in my luteal phase as well, which if for those of you who are not aware, It's when the neurotransmitters and the hormones that provide easy access to dopamine and serotonin um, really, really decline in a female's body throughout the cycle. So it's called our inner autumn, and it's just everything's kind of slowing down, inviting us into our inner winter, which is our period or our bleed, when we're bleeding, menstruating. And so just be mindful of the imposter syndrome coming in thick and hot when you're in your luteal. But I just thought, hey, let's just experiment with this. Hey, let's lean into the discomfort, because that's one of my favorite things to do. And yeah, so imposter syndrome is definitely an invitation to rejig your self-worth. And I'm mentioning that it's come up for me because obviously a huge trigger for people is being seen or being heard, or this huge fear of rejection, of criticism. And yeah, like that narrative that goes through my head, like, who are you to sit, like, to think that you can press record on a podcast episode and give anyone else advice when, you're feeling like this big and I've got my fingers up and it's like 2 centimeters tall sort of thing. So yes, imposter syndrome is definitely can be I want to say an alarm bell, but that could have a negative connotation. So let's call it an invitation to just slow down, take a breath, check in with yourself and see where that worthiness journey is, where that worthiness piece is for you, because that will be a constant evolution through your entire life. And I want to provide a different perception and a softer view of imposter syndrome, because yes, it can be a self-worth piece, but it's also, say, like I'm embodying this right now, imposter syndrome happens when you are walking on the razor's edge of your comfort zone and you are literally meeting new experiences in your life, therefore new versions of yourself that are showing up for that experience. So even though, like I said, I've been recording this episode this podcast, on and off for a few years, it's just like, it's a constant evolution. Like it's a constant piece for me to sit down and record. And I think imposter syndrome shows up when you're like, fuck the discomfort, fuck waiting for the right situation. Like, is, for example, for me, like, oh, I'm going to wait until I've got a day off and no one's home and it's the morning and I'm feeling optimal and all of that. And this isn't an indication to push yourself in like an unconscious way, but it's also to look at yourself through that loving lens. Like, am I making excuses here? Am I avoiding the discomfort? And yeah, I call myself on my bullshit, and I've never recorded in the afternoon because I'm like, I can't. It's just not as good quality. Like, I'm not in the right space for it. And it's like, well, am I? Like, I've never tried. So here I am at 6:40 at night. Thank God we have daylight savings, because it still feels like it's like 12 o'clock. Talking about imposter syndrome while I'm actually experiencing it. Oh my God. And yeah, so I think if we invite ourselves to look at this different perception, or maybe multiple reasons why you may be experiencing imposter syndrome, you actually realize it's something to celebrate. Because I am sitting here, tightness in my chest, like tightness in my throat. I actually feel like I want to vomit, but I'm just sitting here, like, just holding space for myself through this imposter syndrome. And once this episode is recorded, I'm going to feel high as a kite. Like, it's going to be the most incredible, fulfilling experience, because I dared to sit in the discomfort and in the fire and do it anyway, and help something change, and hopefully help you in the process as well. But like, help rejig that internal dialogue that's keeping me in a loop about, oh, I'm so tired, or oh, I can't do this. It's not ideal conditions to record a podcast. So yeah, we're here, we're doing it. And conversations that I've been having with my friends as well over the last few days, not just my own imposter syndrome, but I continue to see this theme. And I have these beautiful, inspiring, ambitious women around me that are pushing the razor's edge of their comfort zone all the time, and constantly inviting in new experiences and wider audiences, or they've learnt a new skill, or they're moving into an entrepreneurial space and they're putting themselves out there. So of course we're going to experience imposter syndrome. Like, it comes with the territory, sort of thing. And it's not something to get into a judgmental spiral about, or a reason to stop putting yourself out there and offering what you have to offer the world, or continuing to study that thing, you know, adding another feather to your cap of what you want to show the world, sort of thing. So it's like, like, why do we instantly feel so shit when we get imposter syndrome? And I invite you to be like, wow, like, that's a celebration. That's an indication that I am doing something that makes me deeply uncomfortable. But I refuse to let those parts of myself, whether they're limiting beliefs or unhealed parts of myself or shadows, I refuse to let them run my life and choose my thought patterns and influence my emotions, and then therefore influence my actions. And it's so frustrating because usually, like, the action that you're wanting to take that is causing the imposter syndrome, once you take that, it will heal the imposter syndrome, and it will actually be the thing that fills up the self-worth journey, or helps you expand into that better version of yourself. So yeah, I invite you to really sit with any imposter syndrome that you may be experiencing and see it through a lens of opportunity, and realize that it's an invitation to, again, push that little bit further, right out of the edge there. Because to be honest with you, if you stay in your comfort zone, it is the most uncomfortable thing ever. Like, what a paradox, hey? But please remember that we are souls that came here in a crazy time of change, and we this courageous timeline, or family members within our ancestral line that have come here. Like, no, like, we're in this collective time of change, and we don't want to be in the same cycles anymore. And if you really reflect on it, like, the thing that you're avoiding, like this imposter syndrome that I'm experiencing, it will not kill me. It's like, when I reflect on all of the excuses and everything that I've been making, letting that imposter syndrome run my life, like that, those last few months where I haven't been able to record podcasts as frequently as I want, and offer magic and support to a community that I hope I'm cultivating, that's been way more painful than sitting here, like, right now. Like, it's 10 minutes, 11 minutes into recording an episode, and I already feel more relaxed, and I will take a deeper breath when I stop recording. But I invite you, like I said, to be as consistent as you can about taking that action to alleviate any imposter syndrome. And I think what I'm realizing with my journey is that I am not recording podcasts frequently enough. So it gives that imposter syndrome enough time to come back in and get back in the driver's seat of my life. So my advice to you would be, and the advice that I'm going to take, like I said, I'm not living and breathing it right now, but I do aim to embody everything that I give advice about. And I will take this advice, and hopefully you'll be seeing podcast episodes rock up weekly. But consistency and constantly exposing yourself, whether it's like your ego or an unhealed part of yourself, your inner child that's scared, if you lovingly and safely expose them to the thing that is their worst nightmare, it has nothing to do, like, it has no power anymore. And your soul and your higher self and your guides and the universe and everyone that's here to support that evolution of yourself can come along and create this container and opportunities for you to heal that ego, or like put the ego aside and heal that inner child and move through shadow work to alleviate some of the imposter syndrome. So yeah, imposter syndrome is actually a really positive sign that you're putting yourself out there. And it doesn't have to be like, if you're experiencing imposter syndrome, it doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm being seen. It might be like, oh, I really want to ask this cute guy at work out, and I've got this imposter syndrome about, oh, he would never be into me. And it's just like that complete cycle that you're going through of avoiding actually asking him, like, hey, what's your name, or what's your number, or let's grab a beer after work. Like, that is way more painful than any form of rejection that might happen. And who knows, he might be your soulmate or your life partner or the father of your children. So you will not die if you get rejected or if you do get criticized. Like, it's this journey of coming back to like, oh, I don't actually give a fuck what anyone thinks about me, sort of thing. And doing it anyway, doing what, like, feeling the fear and doing it anyway. I feel like that's like, you know, should be like a bumper sticker or something. Maybe it is, probably is. Maybe that's where I got that saying from. So yeah, so as I was mentioning, like, the thing that you want to do that is, and like, that's causing the imposter syndrome, really get clear on that. What is the thing that you actually want to do in a perfect world? Like if there was no way to quotation marks fail, and like the failure and success is very black and white, but that's for another episode. But what's the worst that can happen? Like me sitting here and recording this podcast episode, popping it up online, and no one listens to it. That's fine. Like, you know, will I die? Will I be injured? No, I'll be fine. And I'll be really proud of myself. And I am already really proud of myself. I've gotten 14 minutes into this episode now. But yeah, nothing bad will come from edging out of your comfort zone, and it will actually provide so much relief because you did it. I was going to say that in a way more complex way, but you did it. Do the thing. Like, is it like, I want to learn how to surf, or I want to give up my job, or I want to ask this boy out, or I want to, you know, record a podcast episode? Like, do the thing. And you will realize, like, firstly, like I've said, identify it, and then stop making excuses and do it as quick as you can. And you realize that the cycle that you are in, avoiding the discomfort, is actually way more uncomfortable than sitting in this discomfort right now. So, yeah. And another piece on imposter syndrome is that I want to acknowledge that we're actually going through a really rapid spiritual awakening, soul expansion, ascension, like whatever word you need to put on it. It's happening hot and fast and thick right now. And it's, you know, it's a time, like I said, we're courageous souls that chose to come here in this time and be the change that Earth and human beings as a race need. So I was commenting on with a friend, like, oh, I feel like I used to go through like one, you know, moment of discomfort or one spiritual lesson a year. And now, like, once a day or like multiple times a day, I'm like leaning into this thing, or sitting with myself, like an uncomfortable feeling, or releasing an emotion, just having a cry because I need to, sort of thing. So I feel like you can also experience imposter syndrome because when positive things are happening in your life, just say you're sitting there like, holy shit, like me from a year ago would not be able to comprehend what I've been able to achieve this year. And all of my ducks are lined up, and I've got a great career and a partner and friends, and I'm healthy, and whatever like is on your vision board or whatever you've manifested. That is happening so quickly, which is, again, another reason to celebrate things. But it's also like all of these parts of yourself need a chance to catch up and look around and feel like safe enough to know that, like, so I'm recording this as a video if you're listening to an audio, and I actually started like looking around because I was like, look around, and like I started looking around my room. So yeah, I'm like, take it literally, look around. But literally look around at what you've been able to cultivate, and trust that it is going to stay, and that you've earned it, and that you deserve it. And like I said, it might actually be a gentle invitation to look within and make sure that that self-worth piece is still there, because like I said, that's a constant evolution. So it's so funny. It's not even like, oh, you just experience imposter syndrome when you're out of your comfort zone. No, you experience imposter syndrome when you've achieved everything and you are your definition of success. And I just want to mention, like, that's not completely your fault. Like I said, we're going through this rapid spiritual expansion right now. So things are instantly manifesting, and I'm constantly meeting new versions of myself every single day. Like, it's like every 5 minutes I want to reintroduce myself, like, hi, I'm Zoe. Hi, I'm Zoe, because it's happening so quickly and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just like dive into the river that is life, and this is gorgeous expansion that we're going through, and meet yourself in every moment of that. If you're experiencing imposter syndrome even in a really abundant time in your life, be easy on yourself. Go easy on yourself. Be like, oh, okay, well, I've got a bit of whiplash, like manifestation whiplash, or, you know, personal development whiplash, because I did it. And sometimes it takes you a moment to look around. Oh, I looked around again. And be like, wow, I did it. And sometimes you won't even realize, like, if you look back on journal entries from a year ago and you're like, oh my God, like word for word, I manifested it. So yeah, I just want to be imposter syndrome's PR manager and offer you a positive, lighthearted lens to look at this through, because it's not something to get into a negative, shitty spiral about. It's like, oh my God, I actually became the version of myself that I wanted to be. But be kind with yourself and be patient with yourself and let every part of you catch up to that realization. And if you're listening to this and resonating with this bit about like, oh, my life's amazing, I still don't know what's wrong with me, I still feel like a stranger in my own life, let this be that invitation to soften and celebrate yourself and be like, oh my God, I did it. Like, go on a walk, pop your headphones in, or just listen to nature, like get out in nature basically. And think about it like, oh my God, I got the job, and I'm texting this cute boy, and I'm eating really healthy, and I gave up those bad habits. Like, if you're experiencing imposter syndrome in a fruitful time in your life, this is your indication that you need to stop and stand still and smell the roses and celebrate it. And usually if you've manifested this gorgeous life around you, that's a sign that you're an ambitious person. But we can get stuck in this cycle of like never actually stopping and letting all of the juiciness and the upgrades in the inner world and the outer world actually land. So yeah, if you're experiencing imposter syndrome in a beautiful, abundant, high vibing season of your life, slow down, take it easy. Like, yes, set your goals, but use the juiciness of what you've created now to fill up your cup again. And in that presence and in that gratitude that you're experiencing, one, the imposter syndrome will dissipate. And two, you'll be using that high vibing energy to manifest the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. But don't get caught in that future orientated trap of like, but what's next? What's next? What's next? Because that imposter syndrome in like a strong time in your life, like being a strong version or like a good season of your life, is an indication that you need to slow down and just take it at a slow pace and be like, oh, wow, look at me. So if you're experiencing imposter syndrome because you are edging out of your comfort zone every day or not as frequently, celebrate yourself. If you're experiencing imposter syndrome because you have manifested everything and you did edge out of your comfort zone in past times, celebrate yourself. So yeah, I'm going to keep it short and sweet because I can feel myself sort of getting into a loop, and I feel like I do say, I can repeat the same message multiple times, but that's actually very valuable as well, because sometimes we need to hear things like a million times, you know, when you're reading stuff all on Instagram or reading your self-help books or podcasts or whatever, and so everyone's like, oh, money is energy, or whatever the message is, and it still takes you like 10 years for it to land. Maybe that's the value of me like kind of repeating a lot of things in different ways, is to really help it land. But for today, I'm feeling like short and sweet, punchy, let's get to the point. And yeah, now I'm going to stop pressing record and dance around my room like a dork because I did it. So yeah, guys, I promise I'm coming back into your ear holes more frequently. This is me putting myself out there, making myself accountable. Fuck this imposter syndrome. I know I've got something to offer the world for my particular community. I know I'm not going to be for everyone, but I'm so sick of caring what other people think and being consumed by the criticism or rejection. And you know what? I am going to get rejected and I am going to get criticized, and I have been for this podcast as well. So that's why it's such a big trigger. But I refuse to let other people's opinions and other people's experiences of me and versions of me stop me from my trajectory and the things that I want to do, because this podcast genuinely feels like the biggest act of service for me, and it's so healing and cathartic. So there is like that, I say this a lot in the episode, there is this like cathartic selfishness piece because it's so important for me to be doing this, but I also just want to offer this medicine and this magic for the world through my own experiences, because I'm right there beside you guys. I'm not like sitting up on some spiritual high horse like, well, you should do this. I'm sitting here like, I'm about to cry recording this, but I'm going to do it anyway, and I hope that this inspires you. Awesome. On that note, guys, I love you so much, and I'll see you on the next episode.